Nuanez. Nuanez now your one-stop shop for all things sports all around the Treasure State each and every weekday. A ton to get to, as there is each and every Monday. Let's get things started with the Montana Football Hour. We give you the best that was over the weekend each and every Monday, first hour of each Monday's show. Usually, voice of the Grizz, Riley Corcoran, would join us, but he's not here today. I believe he was taking in a Broncos game yesterday. Went down to the Mile High City and watched the Donkeys get stomped. We'll get to that in hour number 2. Marty Morningway is going to swing by for the Monday afternoon quarterback with Coach Marty. So excited to have him in and to rehash and recap all of the NFL action. I actually only got a chance to watch a little bit of the second half of the afternoon games, and then, of course, Sunday Night Football. Jacked up for the game tonight as well. But we were driving. We were coming back from Eastern Washington, from Cheney, where we watched the University of Montana go to the red turf and fall 34-28. An awesome game. Andrew Houghton, SkylineSportsMT.com, as well as here at ESPN Missoula. He was with me. He'll join us in the second segment here today to recap that, just all that happened over the weekend. We'll also get you all the way around the Big Sky Conference here in the Montana Football Hour, and whatever else we might get to, including this week's FCS Top 25 poll. And again, about 5:30, about 5, Marty Morningway swinging by. And then depending on how long Coach Marty wants to stay, we'll either have Johnny Edwards, Grizz Greats, the newest excerpt, or some more Marty Morningway. So either way, you're winning. You're going to get former Grizz quarterbacks the second hour of this show today. How about that? Hope you had an awesome weekend. I had a great weekend. Love road tripping. Love going around Big Sky Conference country. We didn't leave till Saturday, so we went and took a stop in Coeur d'Alene and pulled over there, watched some college football, including watching Montana State's 40-7 victory over Northern Colorado. No big disparity, and only 7.5 hours between kickoffs between the Bobcat game and the Grizzly game. So we were able to fully watch and then cover the Cat game and then still go have some dinner in Spokane and then make our way over to Cheney. So it was a fun trip. Appreciate Andrew as well as Blake Hempstead, Jason Bocci for rolling on through. You want to see pictures from the game? SkylineSportsMT.com. Go check those out as well. I got a bunch of photo galleries up there and also some great writings and other contributions as well. Time now for the Montana Football Hour. Most of the time, Riley Corcoran, the voice of the Grizz, will join me. But today, rolling solo for a minute before we bring Andrew Houghton in. But a ton to get to, the ins and outs of this 34-28 victory by Eastern Washington to keep the Eagles undefeated and hand Montana their first loss. This was a awesome back and forth. It was a game where it wasn't necessarily a strength and a strength clashing over and over again. It was a strength having an upper hand for moments in time. Eastern Washington happened to be the one that had the upper hand latest. And even though Montana pretty much dominated this game after the first possession of the football game, in which Eastern scored to go up 7-0, Montana basically suffocated Eastern for the next 2.5, almost 3 full quarters, going into the beginning of the fourth quarter. Then Eastern just kept coming. They did some stuff to adjust in pass protection to keep Eric Berrier upright. The Grizz pass rush had been overwhelming. I think the official statistic, 5 sacks, but I had him down for 7. There was a couple when Berrier, quote-unquote, slipped on the turf, and it looked to me like he was just taking a nosedive because he knew he was going to get hit. He wanted the play to be over. He didn't want to keep running from the swarming Grizz. But here nor there, Montana put a ton of pressure on Eric Berrier. Eric Berrier did not back down, and then, in fact, Eric Berrier started shredding that pressure, and that was the windfall. That was the avalanche for Eastern Washington. They scored 21 points in the span of less than 5 game minutes to start the fourth quarter. Talolo Limu-Jones, who was the star of the game, he was the player of the game for Eastern Washington besides their exceptional quarterback, Eric Berrier, who we'll get to in a minute. But Talolo Limu-Jones had 3 50-plus yard catches that set up touchdowns. He himself actually did not catch a touchdown, but he set up 3 of Eastern Washington's touchdowns, and he had an outstanding day. He also dropped one that would have been surefire, probably a 60-yard touchdown. So he finishes with 231 yards receiving. That's the second most in Eastern Washington history in a single game, behind who else? Cooper Kupp. I'll never forget that game when Kupp caught 20 balls for 275 yards and 3 touchdowns against Northern Colorado. Kupp's marks, man, among those that'll never be touched. But Limu-Jones almost did, and if he would have caught that 60-yarder, he would have been right there because he finished with 231. And I'm not really sure what the official yards would have been on the one he dropped, but he was right there. And so an outstanding game by him as well. Montana, when their 21-10 lead disintegrated and they got into a back and forth, it wasn't so pretty for the Grizzlies, especially on offense. Their offense was largely stagnant. Xavier Harris did rush for a career high in rushing yards, but he did not have much going in the fourth quarter. And when he didn't have much going in the fourth quarter, Montana's offense had nothing going in the fourth quarter. Senior quarterback Cam Humphrey was limited to 150 yards passing. The Grizz were 5 of 15 on third down. I'm getting ahead of myself because my great opinion is that they've been not that great on first down. That's why they've struggled on third down, because they get into these third and longs. Aaron Best, who we'll get to just a minute, head coach from Eastern Washington, he said, hey, Tim Rosebaugh, the Montana offensive coordinator, he likes to keep it on the ground. We're not going to let them dink and dunk. We're not going to let them control the ball in an easy fashion. You saw that. They primarily tried to take away Cam Humphrey's first read. Then they would also take away the automatic check down, which is the running back in the flat, which is a trademark of this Grizz offensive system. And then Montana's offense just didn't look good. It was almost like a glitch. Cam Humphrey couldn't get through his reads. Montana's offense has a bunch of playmakers. They're not adequately getting those guys the ball. They're relying primarily, as the guys getting the main touches are a bunch of freshman running backs. And Xavier Harris is a great talent. Junior Bergen is a great talent. But where are we at with this Montana team in terms of their ability to get their playmakers the ball? That's something that's been a struggle, and we're going to get into that. But more than anything, more than the criticism you could have for the Grizz offense, more than the shock, because I fully will eat crow on this one. I fully thought that Montana was going to go to Eastern Washington and they were going to destroy Eastern. I thought that their defense would be too much for Eastern to handle. I thought Barrier wouldn't be able to run around. And in this game, he really wasn't able to run around, but it didn't matter. He stood in the pocket. He stared down the barrel. He made all the throws. But more than any of that, more than the surprise of Montana and Bobby Houck after the game, which we'll get to him in just a minute as well. More than any of that, this was a quintessential football game that came down to making plays. And that's why sometimes in these post-game press conferences, you can try to hash out all these things. And there are so many details to a football game. There's so many ways that strategy can influence things. Play calling, the personnel decisions that you make, the momentum of the game. What if we did this? What if this wouldn't have happened? That's why football is so fun. That's why it dominates talk radio. That's why there's so many things to talk about, because there always is so many things to talk about. Sometimes in a game like this, though, it truly comes down to one thing. Who makes the plays and who doesn't? There's going to be moments, 8, 10 moments in a given game where someone has the chance to make a ridiculous play. What if they do? What if they don't? To me, this game came down to Eric Barrier making all of the plays. When Montana times the absolute perfect blitz and Jace Lewis comes unblocked, free, and he crushes Eric Barrier, and Barrier still stands in the pocket, takes the hit from the preseason Defensive Player of the Year in this league. I guess that would have been 2 years ago, but still a first-team All-League player in Jace Lewis, number 37 on Montana. And Barrier still fires an absolute dime to hit Talolo Limo-Jones in stride for a 58-yard gain that then sets up the go-ahead touchdown. That's just two dudes making a play. That's just the best player in the United States of America making a play. So as much as you want to scrutinize and say, oh, this is all the things the Grizz could have done to win the game, and make no mistake, the Grizz played well enough on special teams and on defense to win this football game, and they did not. They lost 34-28 in Cheney, Washington. But sometimes you got to give credit where credit's due. We'll get to Bobby Houck, Montana head coach, in just a minute, but a couple pieces of sound here from Aaron Best, Eastern Washington head coach. This is the Montana Football Hour, which is presented in part by Stockman Bank. Stockman Bank invites you to experience the Stockman difference. As a family-owned community bank with locations throughout Montana, Stockman Bank is committed to enriching the lives of Montanans and helping communities succeed. What that means for you is your money stays in the local economy, supporting your friends and your neighbors. Here's Aaron Best's opening statement following the victory over Montana.
Not normally this highly attended Eastern home games. Must be a Grizz game.
Coach, what did you see on that last play of the game?
Saw us make a play. Saw us make a play.
He has made a ton of plays today.
Ton of plays.
How proud are you?
I'm pretty damn proud, to be honest, Coulter. Defense is what they hang their hat on. They had their way for some of the game, but not all the game. And I was excited about the fact that they had their defense. We had number 3. And a lot of playmakers. And this, I do know, one of the biggest stars of the game was a backup kicker, wearing number 60, left-footed, Jackson Cleaver, and hit multiple extra points, 2 field goals, 1 to put it to a 6-point win. Very proud.
One piece of contention I got here. This has nothing to do with Aaron Best or the result of this game. Eastern Washington's field, I'm not going to go down that either because that is low-hanging fruit. But the only complaint I have is not about the field because everybody's already complaining about that. It's not the blood red turf. When they wear their black jerseys with the red numbers, I can't see the numbers. I reported incorrectly the guy who made the 2 field goals. I had no idea Jackson Cleaver was in the game because I couldn't read his number. I thought it was Seth Harrison. So apologies. Incorrect reporting on Twitter. But regardless, you can't see Eastern Washington's numbers. Very frustrating. It's the Montana Football Hour here on Nuanez now on ESPN Radio as well as SWX Montana Television. The Montana Football Hour is presented in part by Brett's RV and Marine. The end of summer clearance sale is rolling at Brett's right now. Summer may be setting, but savings are on the rise. Brett's RV and Marine is proud to be the largest of all Montana RV dealers. They've been family owned and operated for more than 50 years. So swing on over to 4800 Grant Creek Road and you start your next adventure with the premier RV dealer in Montana. This was billed as the top offense in the country. Eastern Washington averaging almost 55 points per game. Against the top defense in the country. Montana had allowed 2 touchdowns to opposing offenses in 3 games so far. The chess match wasn't as much of a chess match. It was just a matter of counterpunching. Montana knew Eastern was going to throw deep. They knew they were going to isolate receivers against the blitzes. Montana knew Eastern was going to chuck it. It came down to, could Montana knock Eric Berrier out of the game? Could they at least knock him off his rhythm? They hit him a bunch. They got to him a bunch. They had him completely corralled, and then they didn't. And he threw for 422 yards and 2 touchdowns. Could have been 6 touchdowns if he would have hit all 4 of those streaking passes that he had, and or if Limu Jones would have finished the deal. But Eric Berrier, a transcendent player, one of the best players I've seen at the FCS level, period. And that was on full display. As you heard Aaron Best say there, I was glad I had 3, and they didn't. When it comes to the chess match, though, how did Eastern Washington protect Berrier better, particularly in the 4th quarter?
Oh, we knew it was going to be. I mean, they're a 60% pressure team. That's what they rely upon. And our piece was be first down productive. We ran the ball enough to be able to keep them honest. We protected enough. They're a man team, base man team. So if we get open, we can protect just long enough. We felt the receivers could take advantage of some of those situations. This just in, we dropped 5 or 6 balls. We dropped 5 or 6 balls. They weren't on just first down either. So we had some mistakes, some self-inflicted mistakes in the first half going into that locker room down. But our team is resilient. We've got a ton of leaders. They're not scared of anything, and we're not going to get bullied, especially on our home field. So really proud that offensive line was missing a starter. You guys don't know that. We played down a lot of chips this game, and we are freaking proud of this bunch coming out on top by 6 points. This was going to be heavyweight bout. I mean, that's what it was, and we just scored 6 more points today. You know, the third down percentage on both sides wasn't great, but we were 4 or 5 on 4th down. That's going to happen, and I like our chances with 3 against anybody on 4th down.
I think you'd probably like your chances with 3, EB3, Eric Berrier, against anybody. I was really thinking about this while we were driving home yesterday. It was a long day. I appreciate everybody for rolling with us. Those 8:30 kicks, man. We got out of the press conference post-game at the strike of midnight. We had to drive back to our Airbnb in Spokane, and so we didn't get there until about 12:45, and that's Pacific time. We did not, heads did not hit the pillow until 4 a.m. local time, so that would have been 5 a.m. here. So we went to bed right about the time the Grizz were rolling back into town, and so definitely a long weekend, but a fun weekend to be sure. And I can't complain. Got to watch an epic football game and cover it. But after these, everybody's a little bit sleepy to be sure. I was thinking about this as we were driving home, though. It's Nuanez now on ESPN Radio as well as SWX Montana Television. I was thinking about the best quarterbacks I've seen at this level, at the FCS level. And first of all, it is a great testament to Eastern Washington and also sort of a referendum on everybody else that I can't believe that more programs haven't done this. I guess a lot of different things like success or greed or TV money or poor leadership or whatever, they get in the way of maintaining continuity and identity for long periods of time. No one really has ever done that unless they hand off the reins. North Dakota State kind of has it rolling right now because it's been all Craig Bull disciples that have taken over there at NDSU. But, from Mike Kramer to Paul Wolf to Bo Baldwin to now Aaron Best, the offensive philosophies at Eastern Washington have been largely unchanged. Therefore, then, when I'm sitting here thinking about the best quarterbacks I've covered in the Big Sky Conference, sure, there's been Denarius McGee and Travis Lulay at Montana State. Dakota Prukop are probably in that mix as well, although he did not have the team success because he's playing on a team with a horrific defense. Of course, John Edwards, early 2000s for the Grizzlies, Craig Oakes, Cole Berquist, those guys come to mind. As good Big Sky Conference quarterbacks. Garrett Saffron at Sacramento State was a really good one. Jake Mayer, most recently at UC Davis. Case Cookus at NAU. This is not to sit here and just name drop all these guys, though. For all of those guys, and I just named 7 to 10 guys there from Big Sky Conference history. Most of, if not all of, the greatest quarterbacks that came to my mind in the Big Sky Conference in my 16 years covering the league all played at Eastern Washington. You might be able to argue a couple of those guys I just named are better than a couple of the guys at Eastern, but the best quarterbacks I've seen at this level are in order, 1A and 1B, Eric Berry and Vernon Adams, and I'm not sure which one I rank higher, but their ability, you talk about their athleticism, ability to stretch plays, the gunslinger mentality, all those things. But their ability now.
He's motivated. He was a second place